Well, as it's past, I think we'll start. Welcome to the latest meeting of the Audit and Governance Committee. I'm stepping in today as interim chair of this meeting. This meeting is being live streamed on the Council's YouTube channel. The recording of the meeting will remain online for 4 years, and if you are present in the chamber, you are consenting to appearing in the recording and broadcast, which may also be used for training purposes. Anyone else recording or filming from within the room must not obstruct the view of the councillors, officers, the public, and press, and that flash photography must not be used unless this has been agreed beforehand. Before we begin, may I remind everyone that the Audit and Governance Committee has an important role in overseeing the Council's financial reporting, risk management, and internal and external auditing functions. We are also responsible for monitoring the effectiveness of the Council's governance arrangements. This committee has a culture of mutual respect and positive challenge in carrying out our functions. Therefore, please could all meeting participants ensure that we are polite and respectful in both questioning and answering during this meeting. Okay. Apologies. We have received 3 apologies from Councillor Graham, Councillor Harris, and Councillor Brooker. Are there any other apologies that we know of? No. Declaration of interest. Are there any interests to be declared? No? Okay. Minutes. On the agenda item 3, the minutes, are members happy to approve as correct record the minutes of the meeting held on Monday the 15th of July 2024? Yeah, okay. Okay, thank you. There's no public, so you don't have to worry about that. Agenda 6, report on external audit backstop dates. This item is to consider the report of the external auditors, including the statement of accounts from 2021-22 and 2022-23. We were due to have a representative from the Council's external auditors attend to provide a verbal update on this item, but they have given apologies. If we do have any follow-up queries for the external auditors, these will be noted in the minutes and actioned by the Democratic Services team. I will now pass over to Hadrian to provide a quick introduction before opening up to questions.
Good evening, Madam Chair and committee members. I would like to start by saying a thank you to my finance team, or the finance team, for all the hard work they've put in to get in these counts and to be there in a position to be reported on. I have some words from the external audit partner to read out, and I'll read out them verbatim, before I do that, I'll just say there was also the report that was circulated earlier today, which is the draft version of the report, which hopefully you've had time to look at. If you haven't, again, we can take questions afterward, via email. So the statement from the external auditors, who do pass on their apologies, but their stand-in, because Michelle, our auditor, has had an operation, so she can't drive, and I asked for a stand-in to come and turn up, has called in sick this morning, so it's unfortunate circumstances. The statement says, in relation to financial year 21-22, we received updated accounts from our initial comments on Friday, and the audit team, are in the process of reviewing these updates. However, we have noted a potential misstatement which the finance team are looking into. This relates to the classification of a 6 million of impairment reversals within the comprehensive income and expenditure statement and note 8. On reviewing the accounts, if additional issues are noted, these will be passed on to management. If there are material items that remain uncorrected, this will require reporting in our audit opinion. In order to finalise the opinion, there are a number of items that remain outstanding, which includes information relating to the value for money opinion in order to meet the backstop date. This information will need to be provided by close of play on the 10th of December to allow time for the audit team to process. In relation to the financial year 2023, which is 22-23, we received updated accounts for our initial comments also on Friday, and the audit team are also in the process of reviewing these updates. If additional issues are noted, these will be passed on to the management. If there are material items that remain uncorrected, this will require reporting in our audit opinion. It should be noted that these accounts will not be able to be signed before the backstop date, and that's referring to the 22-23 set of accounts as set out in our paper. They were not published for public inspection with enough time to complete the period before the 13th of December backstop date. We're working with the finance team to complete this audit as soon as possible. However, due to annual leave, we are expecting this will be signed. I think she's missed a knot out there, not be signed before the 11th of January. It may be that they are going. The value for money work is well progressed, and the annual audit report is drafted and includes a significant weakness relating to the cyber incident, which had a significant impact on the financial systems in place at the council. In order to conclude the audit, we need to receive confidential board minutes and cyber policies and procedures. The annual audit report will be presented to the next audit committee, as this needs to be finalised within 3 months of signing the audit opinion. That is the statement that was made by the external auditors. I hope you, just a couple of things, hope you've had time to read their or skim through their report from Deloitte that they issued on very late on Friday, which we circulated this morning. If you haven't, would you, I suppose, I'll throw that question out to you. Would you like me to run through any highlights from it, or have you had a chance to read it? Help me to it. That's fine. That's fine. Yeah, no, that is fine. I just didn't want to read through or highlight things. So in terms of their report, which is in draft form at the present moment, they've basically captured what they said in there, that it will be a disclaimed audit report. So I think we flagged that previously. In essence, they haven't had the time to audit effectively to meet within the space of time allowed by the government backstop date. So they've been doing high level work and looking at the detail of the numbers in the accounts, as in placement and checklists and disclosures. They've given it on page 7 of their, and I don't know what that is in the pack terms, but on page 7 of their report, they have listed out a format of the disclaimer report. It's similar to a company's qualified report, really, but it's basically saying that they haven't had a chance to look at everything in the level of detail that would be expected. In terms of their findings, which are summarised on pages 8 onwards, they have made several observations in the first couple of pages around what information has been provided to them. several of which say they haven't been able to gain comfort over how the processes we followed to complete the accounts. I am happy to address any concerns that maybe the committee may have around those aspects of it as they are raised. They pretty much described their work. The positives are, under their fraud inquiries, they have not identified any matters regarding fraud or allegations. Under compliance with laws and regulations, they're currently considering the impact of the cyber incident, but more along the lines of what we've done subsequent. So we're just trying to make sure they've got access to all of the confidential papers on that. And they've laid it out in the context of the fact that we have had the cyber incident and that has impacted on the production of the accounts. I think I'll leave it there and leave it open.
Councillor Bulkhead, do you have a question?
So about the potential misstatement on the impairment reversals, what's the timeline for resolving this issue? What has the finance team identified the root cause of this misstatement, and what corrective actions will you be taking?
We are discussing it with the auditors. The nice aspect of it, in inverted commas, is that it is a misstatement across the face of the income and expenditure statement. So it's moving it from one line to another line, as opposed to, so it has no impact on the actual final result. We are just ascertaining whether it's to do with the fair value of the various properties. They went dramatically down in 2021 following the impact of COVID. They had movements back up in 21, 22 as we came out of COVID, and they relate to the what I call the commercial properties, the retail shopping centres. That's a prime cause of that. There are other properties in there, but it was the fluctuation. We're going to look at that in detail tomorrow, and we will clear that and put it into whichever line is considered to be the correct one.
Councillor Vida Holden.
Thank you, Chair. I appreciate you're going to look for positives in what is a fairly damning report, but the two that you highlighted do have caveats that say, due to the timing of the statutory backstop, we have not been able to perform the other fraud-related procedures required by the auditing standards, and a similar statement about breaking of laws, non-compliance with laws and regulations. So I appreciate the positives. However, there's still some work to be done, isn't there?
There is. I'm not going to. Yes, I think I'm trying to put some positives in there as well as the negatives. I'm comfortable because of the people sat next to me from internal audit that we cover off the fraud risks. They just haven't had time to work through and do their own analysis of that information. So that gives me an element of comfort from that one. But yes, they are also ensuring that they've made it absolutely clear they haven't had time to dig in and delve into that in depth.
Thank you. Further to that, similarly, on page 17, there's a number of issues noted. It says, we did not see evidence, we did not see evidence, we did not see evidence. Is that because they haven't had time, or because the evidence doesn't exist? Are you confident that those controls are in place? Opportunity to see evidence of those controls, or do we not use those controls?
exist. They haven't seen evidence of it, largely because of the way that the accounts have been prepared. They're looking for the accounts, because we prepared the sets of accounts based on chunks of manual information, manual processed information that we had to then feed back into the system to very tight deadlines. We got the take the 22-23 accounts, we got that data back into the financial ledger system towards the end of May, and then we had to reanalyze all that, analyze that data into the right formats. The finance team is an incredibly small team in general terms. We have been working on keeping the day-to-day going, but at the same time, we have been pulling together the schedules for these accounts. The accounts have been done collaboratively in terms of I've been involved with Elizabeth, who has been doing the bulk of the number crunching work, for want of a better phrase, and all the dealing with notes. Richard, who has put fixed assets back into the system and run those data through. So they're looking for evidence of that where we've all been working together. They're looking for documented evidence. I haven't got that piece of paper that lists out the steps we did. I'm going to create that for the auditors, but it wasn't on the top of my priority lists, rightly or wrongly. The priority was to get numbers that we were comfortable with and make sure that we would process those properly. So a lot of their evidence is a case of we were doing it as we went along. So somebody has been preparing it, and we've been preparing it collaboratively. Due to the pressures of the timeline, we didn't have that luxury of being able to step back in the past week or the past 2 weeks and do that full formal review. So I will take that on the chin, but it's a case of that's the pressure of the timeline.
Councillor Putnam.
Thanks, Chair. Page 14, in terms of significant weaknesses, says we identified significant weaknesses in arrangements in respect to governance, and then goes on to talk about the use of security in its IT systems, which we know effectively is alluding to the cyber attack. The recommendation says that the Council continues to monitor the risk relating to cyber incidents and ensure that appropriate mitigation actions are taken. Well, that's great. And I've seen somewhere else in the papers today, the restricted papers, about how we're going to do that. But I'm going to say how. How are we confident that we are actually doing that, monitoring what, systems? Who's going to do it? How are we going to do it? Where's the proof of that? Because that's where it all fell apart in the first place, isn't it?
I'll take that, but it's slightly out of my remit in terms of the cyber incident, and the causes and the actions that have been taken have been discussed at length within various committees of the council. The IT team, which falls under the head of transformation and commissioning, have been constantly working to improve our response to the cyber threats that are constantly out there and constantly growing. So we are looking into this all the time, and we are made aware of it. We have the cyber training. You as councillors or members also have that cyber training. We were caught out by a very sophisticated attack, and those attacks are getting more and more sophisticated with the development of AI. I sat on a conference on Friday, and the threat of AI and the way it can very realistically spoof sets of accounts and sets of financial information is quite frightening. And that's going across the whole sector and the whole private sector. But that's as much as I can say on that one.
Okay, it's just, as I said, if our own internal IT team are monitoring that, There's no other monitoring going on, is it? Just our own internal IT team? Or is that outside of your remit? Okay, I'll ask it somewhere else. Yeah. No, okay, okay.
Councillor Bouquet.
Thank you, Chair. If the information, the specific information that's still needed for the value for money opinion is not provided by close of play tomorrow, what might the impact be on the audit process or the overall opinion?
The impact would be the same, similar to that on the 22-23. Sorry, I'm working in 4 years. 22-23 accounts, in that they wouldn't be able to sign them off. We do not want that to be the case. We want to at least get the 21-22 accounts properly signed off with a disclaimer opinion. And I'm not laughing. Sorry, it sounds silly, but we know we want to get them properly through the process. The impact is as laid out in the government's statements. If they don't, any sets of accounts that aren't signed off, the councils will be reported on a list, which is being commonly known as the naughty list, as will the external auditors, for not having achieved the backstop dates. We are going to be on that list for the 22-23 accounts. We've tried to avoid that, but unfortunately we haven't achieved that. We also, the information and feedback I've had from around the council network is that we won't be the only member, only council on there, or any local authority on there. There is expected to be a significant number on that list because of the fact that the government instituted the backstop date as rapidly as they did, with as little information as they did. That's not making excuses. We, compared to some of those councils, we did suffer the cyber incident. But yes, we will be on a list. How far that list and how much that hits the press is anybody's guess. Hopefully that answers the question.
Thanks.
Any other questions? Councillor Valder, hold up.
Thank you, Chair. I just want to go back to the statement from Deloitte earlier. The first one of the first paragraphs, something about £6 million. I can't find it now. This relates to the classification of £6 million of impairment reversals. What's the impact of that? What does that mean to us?
As I tried to explain on that, it's essentially within the comprehensive income and expenditure statement, which is equivalent to profit and loss, or there are two lines, and basically one is for fair value of, or movements in fair values of investment properties. One is for movements in fair values of operational properties. So one is 6 million plus, one is 6 million minus, or sorry, you move it from one place, you take 6 million off, you add it back on down there, and the impact is nil. That's okay. I wasn't being patronising. That was no, that's okay.
Are members content to note the report? Yes.
I'd like to observe that it was 176 pages and we received it rather late.
Yes.
I did not digest the report. I appreciate the summary we had, and the 30 pages that we got very late today. I was fortunate that I managed to breeze through that. But given the importance of these accounts, a little bit of extra time would be helpful in future.
Can that be noted?
Yeah, that could be noted, and it was noted. As I say, some of it was outside of my control because it came from the external auditors. But yes.
That report is noted.
Thank you.
Agenda 7, Internal Audit Process Report, 24 to 25. Next on the agenda, we have Internal Audit Process Report, 24-25, from the Head of the Audit Risk Assurance, informing the Committee of Internal Audit Activity Progress in relation to the Internal Audit Plan, 24-25. Please could I remind members that should anyone wish to discuss any aspect of Annex 1, we will need to consider resolving to exclude the press and public before doing so, as this is an exempt item. Over to you, Fish.
Thank you, Chair, and good evening to you and to the committee. So just in case you don't know, I'm Piyush Fatani, I'm the Head of Audit Risk Assurance, and I'm joined this evening by Spencer Williams, who is our Principal Auditor and Lead Auditor for Gloucester City Council. He's going to help me with any of the trickier questions if we have some on the agenda this evening. So we start off on page 17 of your agenda, Chair, which is the Internal Audit Progress Report. And there is the summary for one audit report that we have issued since your previous meeting, which is on culture grants. And I'm delighted to say that we've been able to provide a substantial level of assurance on that. There then follows on page 21 a recommendation monitoring update for the committee to see how recommendations are being implemented. This is followed, Chair, on page 22 with an update from the counter fraud team, CFT, and to date in 24-25 there have been a number of referrals. In particular, if you look at the National Fraud Initiative, there's been 128 referrals, and the CFT are working through those. And if I can just highlight one of the areas where they have been working with the Revenues and Benefits team in the council, working collaboratively, and they have looked at a number of single-person discount cases that shouldn't have, fraudulently, but otherwise shouldn't have been paid out. And thanks, as I say, to the work of the counter-fraud team and the Revenues and Benefits team, and much to Hadrian's delight, I'm sure, the council will be able to bill circa £123,000 that it will be able to reclaim. So just a highlight there of some of the work. On page 25, there is then progress against the internal audit plan. And just to go back to the question we had previously about cyber, and you can see on there that there are a number of cyber audits, and it is something that we work very closely with the Section 151 officer to look at the risks around cyber for the council. And as I say, we do focus our attention on those higher risk areas. So that's just the third line of defence there, just to help the council to ensure that cyber security is as good as it can be. Further in your agenda then, there is additional information on the outstanding recommendations, Chair, on page 29. There is also an exempt item which has recommendations from reports that were themselves previously exempt, and so the update on their recommendations is also exempt. So I hope that's okay, and happy to take any questions, Chair.
Do you have any questions? Councillor Vida Holden.
Thank you, Chair. Just on whistleblowing, it's clearly my favourite topic because I've raised it before. I went on the public website and I found it difficult to find a place to report something as a member of the public. Now, I appreciate we don't want whistleblowing to be, the first thing we see, but just putting in some simple search terms, I didn't get to the whistleblowing page. I had to actually look for whistleblowing, and I think most members of the public would probably put in something like, dodgy taxi or something like that, and hope to get to that page. So could we make it easier for members of the public to find that page? Because it could be important at times that people report incidents.
Absolutely, Chair. So if you look on page 22 of your report, you can see there is an update on whistleblowing, and the counter fraud team do work closely with the council in reviewing the pages on the council's website. But, a real life case, as it were, if if you've had a look and you weren't able to see it, then I can certainly go back to the counter fraud team and just to make sure that it is as easy as possible to find.
Councillor Pullen.
Thanks very much. Cheers. Multitasking. 4.1 talks about CFT are currently supporting with a health and safety investigation, which also has allegations of fraud. That intrigued me. Could you give us a little bit more information around what that's about? Because, fraud to me is usually financial, but there's a health and safety issue in there. So I just wondered what.
Yes, Chair. So the counter fraud team are supporting the community wellbeing team within the council with, it is a breach of health and safety, essentially. That's the initial item or issue that they are investigating. However, they have uncovered some allegations of potential benefit fraud, which are linked to the same case. And so this is a multi-agency investigation. The counter fraud team and council officers are working jointly with the police on this one. So that's as much as I can say at the moment because it is a live case. But as I say, once these cases are resolved one way or another, we do come back to the committee and report on those. So if that's okay for the moment, please.
Yes, thank you. That's helpful. What am I doing? I just wanted to make the connection really, because as I said, the two things leapt out as being contra to each, or at least to me. And so, okay, that's helpful. Yeah, 4.15 on page 23 talks about carrying out, numeric point 3 talks about carrying out inspections and enforcement of accommodation standards. What's that about? Again, more information. Thank you.
So this is assistance that the counter fraud team are providing to the supported housing improvement programme. And so that's just detailing what they have done. But if I may, can I come back to you on that? Because I can ask the officer and provide you with a more detailed response to that. Would that be okay? And I can share that with the committee.
Yeah, that would be great. As you said, I read these things and it makes sense. What's happening? What are we doing?
Councillor Barkett.
Thank you, Chair. I was just wondering, is there a list of agencies and partners that we have available that the counter fraud team is supporting or being involved with, just for the sake of clarity?
In terms of the multi-agency.
In terms of that approach, yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
It involves police, fire, for example, also in Gloucestershire and outside of Gloucestershire, indeed. So, but I'm more than happy to provide you with a fuller list.
Yes.
Any other questions? No? Are members content to accept the progress against the internal audit plan 24-25? Okay. That report is noted. Thank you. The next item on the agenda is the Treasury Management 6-monthly update 24-25. This is a report from the Cabinet Member of Resources asking members to note Treasury activity from the 1st of April 24 to the 30th of September 24. Over to you, Hadrian.
Thanks, Chair. Just thought I'd introduce myself as well. So my name's Richard Wintor, so I'm one of the accountancy managers in the finance team. So the Treasury report is, so it's the Q1 report and the mid-year report amalgamated into one at the request of Cabinet. So the report details out our Treasury activities in the first half of the year. So it talks about our yield against the benchmark that's provided by our Treasury Advisors link. And it also details out our performance against the key prudential indicators that are agreed by Council under the Treasury Management Strategy. And then at the end of the report, we've added an Appendix 3 at the request of Council that details out specifically where our investments are held, and also details out what was agreed by full Council at the beginning of the year of where we can put our investments and the durations, etc., and limits. We ask that Audit and Governance note this report. Any questions?
Any questions for this?
Sorry, I'm just intrigued by page 36, which says the majority of funds are held within CCLA and have delivered 205k in dividends, but there's nothing shown in the table below for investment over 12 months. The council performance is shown as NA.
It's because of the nature of the CCLA. So we keep the investment there for longer, but it is technically, it's a funny one. We can draw the money down when we want to. So it is available to us, it's liquid, but because of the nature of the account, a lot of it is a property fund. So CCLA is the churches, charities, local authorities. But we can draw down that money whenever we can. So it is classed as a 7-day investment. I think it's T+3 or something like that.
Thank you. I was just, it says funds available for more than 1 year, and then there's nothing below. Thanks for the explanation.
Councillor Pullen.
Thank you. And we were just talking on Appendix 3, Treasury investments held by the Council. Now, we think this is on the back of a question that came to full Council a while ago by an independent member. Could you, that's correct, is it? Yeah. Okay. Could you just talk us around that then? What these figures are?
Which the figures that show what balances we hold, or the figures underneath?
Just tell us what that table is about. And I'm not an accountant, all right? So tell us what that table is about.
Yeah, so the table that details out what investments we hold. So all of the counterparties on the left-hand side, we hold call accounts with them. So I always think of it as like a savings account. So we can draw down that money at any point, and on a daily basis, we're either drawing money from that account or putting money there. So for example, we get paid council tax at the beginning of the month from individuals, and then we pay the precept out to the county and the police at the end of the month. So that money will sit there for 3 or 4 weeks, and we'll earn interest on that, and then we'll call the money back from the fund and pay the precept. But it just means that at any point in time, the figures can fluctuate quite a lot. That's why they're fluctuating here. So for example, at the end of June, we had £4.2 million held with Goldman Sachs, but at the end of September, we had 0. And it might have it's to do with the cash flow, when money's coming in, when money's going out. So instead of it just sitting in our current account and earning nothing, we're investing that money so we can earn extra interest to support the core services the council provide.
Okay, that's helpful. That's what I assumed, but I just wanted that clarifying, really. And these banks on the left-hand side, how do we select those? What's the process?
I'm just finding it in the report. So detailed further up, SITFA give us a clear structure on how we should select our investments. So the first point of call is our security of capital. So that's most important to us. Secondly is liquidity. So keeping the cash easily available. And then third of all is yield. So we'll look at those three. And then also as part of the processes, we look at the ESG of individuals. So that's their economic, social, environmental, social and governance. So that's how they perform with providing loans to green energy suppliers, etc. Yeah, their ethics. Yeah.
Okay, that's helpful.
Are there any more questions? No? Okay. Are the members content to note the contents of the report? Yes, that report is noted. Okay. Agenda item 9 is the risk management policy statement and strategy. I pass back to Prish to introduce the report before opening.
Thank you, Chair. So this is the risk management strategy which comes on an annual basis to this committee. Risk management clearly is a key part of the Council's corporate governance framework and its internal control environment. And what this strategy does, Chair, is to set out the importance of risk management and how the Council manages its risks. And so in section 1, for example, you have the policy statement, which identifies the benefits of risk management in helping the council to achieve its objectives and also highlights some key roles within the council associated with risk management. Section 2 of the strategy statement develops these roles and links risk management, to governance and the role of the audit and governance committee. And not the governance committee, but to the annual governance statement, and how this, as I say, relates to the council's strategic management. Section 3 talks about the benefits of risk management and how this relates to the work of internal audit. Section 4, 5 and 6, if I can take those together, provide further information in how risk management helps the council to achieve its objectives, including, for example, setting the tone from the top, ensuring consistency of application of the policy and processes around risk management across the council, developing leadership capacity, learning lessons from areas where risk management can be improved, adopting good practice and embedding risk management into the business and service plans, the actual sort of daily processes, if you like, of the council. And section 5 actually goes on to articulate the council's risk appetite and how that also helps the council. Section 7 sets out how the council monitors the effectiveness of its risk management processes, and section 8 sets out the role of members and officers throughout the council with regard to risk management. So happy to take any questions at that point, Chair.
Councillor Pullen.
Someone's still got those on. There we go. So we assume this statement is issued annually. Any changes on previous years?
There are some minor changes as far as I can tell, but it is reviewed annually, which is what good practice dictates, just to make sure that the risk management processes are up to date.
That was what I assumed. We don't want to spend hours going through a process that we use every year, and you suggested some minor, but nothing to worry about. Okay, thank you.
Councillor Bowker.
Thank you, Chair. So you, in section 3 of the report, you talked about the real benefits of managing risk. I was just wondering how much attention you pay on a routine basis to assessing the new risks, you know, identifying new issues that could come up. Is that something that's important?
Yes, Chair. So actually, this is where Spencer and the sterling work he does in being our lead auditor for this council helps, because he is in constant contact with the Section 151 officer, other heads of service and managers, and any new risks are identified in those discussions. So at any point in time throughout the year, I would say that we are, so long as somebody's told us, we're as aware of new risks as we can be.
Any other questions? Right. Okay. Are members content to endorse the risk management policy statement and strategy for adoption? Okay, that report is noted. Okay. The next item on the agenda is the Audit and Governance Committee Work Programme. It's on the next page. Does anyone have any questions or comments on this?
Thank you, Chair. So just to chip in with a suggested alteration to the work programme. So this committee meeting was initially supposed to take place in November, but we did push it back a couple of weeks later to have the meeting in November to better align with the backstop dates. The same situation is going to happen in February. So we were wondering the proposed date for the closest date to the next stop of the government backstop is the 10th of February. So we were wondering whether members would be content for us to bounce the January meeting to the 10th of February. There won't be any, there's nothing time particularly sensitive on the agenda for January. It's very close proximity to this current meeting. So if members are content, we are suggesting that we postpone January to February to better align with the new set of backstop dates. I can also circulate this in writing and we can deal with it outside as well, but we just thought now would be a good opportunity to give you a heads up that we probably are looking, if you are content for us to do so, to 10th of February. Yes. No, I think it's... Sorry, 10th of February. So it is a Monday. Monday.
Is everyone okay with that? That's passed then. Okay. That's the close of the meeting. Thank you very much for coming.